What's up guys, Mizzo Frizzo here, and welcome back for part 7 of my how to make a multiplayer first-person shooter in Unreal Engine 5 tutorial series. In this part we're going to be looking at how to apply damage to other players, and we're also going to be setting up aiming down the sights for both your first-person arms and your third-person character, and we'll also change the max walk speed of your character, so when you aim down the sights you can see that you're aiming down the sights, other people can see you're aiming down the sights, and your walk speed is lowered. It's going to be a very quick and easy tutorial to follow, but just before we get started guys, a quick reminder that the first 150 people to donate $10 via my Patreon will be granted lifetime access to my Discord server, Mizzo's Dizzo, even if you immediately cancel your Patreon membership. So with just one payment of $10, you'll be a lifetime member of my Discord server. Without further ado guys, let's jump into it. Alrighty guys, now the first thing we're going to do is set up a basic system for applying damage when we shoot another player. So let's start off by opening up BP first person character, and the very first thing I'm going to do in here is create a tag in this parent class, our BP first person character. So if I search for tag in the details panel and right here under actor tags, I'm going to add an actor tag, and I'm just going to make it player. So we'll check that the actor that we hit has the tag player, and if it does then we'll apply damage to it. It's just a really basic way of filtering out what actor you're hitting. And we're going to do the logic right here on the end of our ROS fire, but first I just want to create a custom trace channel for this to be on. So if we click on settings and project settings and then search for trace channel, you'll see these custom trace channels here. We can add a new trace channel, and I'm just going to call it bullets, and we'll leave default response to block and hit OK. And now we've got this new trace channel. We can go back to our first person character, and right here on our line trace by channel, we can right click on this and refresh node, and then bullets should come up here under trace channel. So we're going to select bullets here, and we also just want to play around with the collision on our characters to make sure that this trace channel hits the character's skeletal mesh and not the capsule component. So that's the first thing we can do here in the first person character, is select the capsule and search for collision, and under here under collision presets, you'll see that bullets is set to block because that was the default that we set when we created it. So we can just change this to custom collision presets and change bullets to ignore, like so. And you want to do that for pretty much everything in here that's inherited in the child classes. So we're not going to make it so you can shoot their first person arms, we're just going to make it so you can shoot their third person body. So the first person mesh as well, under collision presets here, we want to change this to custom and make sure that this is set to ignore, and the same with our third person body as well. Change this to custom, ignore bullets, compile and save. That should be all we need to do with the collision in here. I'm not going to do this for every build. I'm just going to do this for the medium build so that you guys know how it works, and you can go ahead and set anything you want up for your other classes. So I'm just going to open up BP medium build here. And what we're concerned with here is this third person body. So body and everything underneath it. I might actually just delete the peach fuzz on the face because it's not really necessary for a third person mesh. It's a bit too much detail. So you can delete that peach fuzz. It's not going to make much of a difference. Now, one thing I did notice is that if you select the body here, you'll see that it's just the arms, this strip of skin around the belly and the ankles. And this is not great for collision. So when you shoot this torso, sometimes it can pass through it and not clip it. So you may want to select your body and change it from this one to the preview of the same one. So if mine's using male, tall, normal weight body, I'm going to change this to male, tall, normal weight body preview. And then you can see that this is more of a full mesh all the way down to the feet. You can actually remove the shoes and the character actually even has feet. But basically what we need to do is go through each of these skeletal mesh components here, and we need to change the collision. So search for collision, and right here, collision presets, we can change this to custom. And collision enabled right here, we need to change this to query only, no physics collision. Query only, no physics collision. We may be able to change that for all of these if I just select the skeletal mesh components. It does say multiple values. Yeah, it won't let me change this. So we'll just do it one by one to make sure. So body, change this to custom, query only, and then make sure that bullets is set to block, which it will be because that's the default. Do the same for face, so select the face, collision presets, custom, collision enabled, query only, and block bullets. Torso, custom, query only, block bullets. Legs, custom, query only, and block bullets. And for the feet, custom, query only, and block bullets. Nice. I do believe we can go ahead and test this out now. Just make sure that my default pawn class is set to my medium build and hit play. And if I grab a weapon and go and shoot this guy over here, it might look like, oh, two of those actually did pass through. So something is not quite right here. That is passing through and not clipping with that mesh. So guys, it does seem to have something to do with the body mesh here. So I changed the body mesh back to the regular one, and I guess the preview doesn't have collision properly set up on it. So if you just change that back to the my character keeps spawning underneath the floor, which I don't really understand why. It's starting to annoy me. So that, and sometimes you might not see the little red hitbox, but if you just look at the color of the lines coming out the other side, you'll see that most of them are hitting. There may be some issues here to debug, but I'm not going to go into making this work flawlessly today. Just making sure that we've got some sort of basic damage system set up. So yeah, you just want to change this skeletal mesh for the body back to the M-tall normal weight body. Okay, let's have a look at doing some damage now. So in our first person character, what I might do is create a new variable and just call it health. And this will be a float. If I hit compile, I will then be able to set a default value for the float. And I'm just going to set the default value of health to 100. And then what I'm going to do here after multicast fire is just do a branch on the return value here to make sure that we've hit something. I'm also going to grab out hit here and break hit result. And then off of hit actor here, I can find actor has tag, and we can put in that tag player. Just going to make sure that I spelt it exactly correctly. Oh, I did use all lowercase. Actor has tag player, put a branch on this, and now this will only execute if we've hit another player. So what we can do after that is drag off of hit actor here and apply damage. And I'm just going to put the base damage here as 20. And now just below here, I'm just going to find some empty space and I'm going to find event any damage. And first what we can do is just check that the health is greater than 0. And if it is, we can set the health as the health minus the damage here. And just before I forget, I might also change the damage type on the apply damage here to just damage type. It's just the default damage type inside the engine. Plug this into the set health here. And so we're setting the health as the health minus the damage. And then I might just do a print string here and print the health like so. Give this a try. Nope, so I'm running out of VRAM here. Yep, so you can see it's printing the health up there, and I can also grab the other player, grab a weapon, and 80, 60, 40, 20, 0, and then it shouldn't do anything because he's already at 0. But what you can do if you want to set up some kind of death logic is just off of the end of here, you can check if health is less or equal to 0. And if it is, you can throw your death logic onto the end here. I do believe this little icon means that this is run across the server. So anything that you do here should play across the server. But replication can be a bit tricky. Sometimes you just have to play around with, what you're going to do on the server and what you multicast, so on and so forth. But that being said, let's also add aiming down the sights to our project. So I'm actually just going to grab this stuff here and move it down because this is where my IA shoot is, and I'm just going to put the aiming logic just above shoot right here. So they're sort of grouped together. I'm just going to find the right mouse button. I'm not going to set up enhanced input as part of this tutorial, but for the record, any input you would want to set up your enhanced input properly. So what we need to do here is basically set a boolean is aiming, and we need to do that across the server and across all clients. And we might we'll set the walk speed as well, and we'll set that up so that it works for all the children classes of this first person character. So your light build will have a different sort of aim walking speed. So let's add a variable. Let's call it aiming ? And this will be a boolean, and this will absolutely need to be replicated. So select aiming, and in the details panel under replication, select replicated, because we're going to let our animation blueprints dictate what animation they're playing based off of this variable. So it absolutely needs to be replicated so that everyone can see that you're aiming. And what we might do is just over here to the right, create a couple of custom events. We'll call this one ROS aiming. And this one will be run on server and reliable. And let's create another one and call it MC aiming. This one will be multicast and reliable. And what we can do is set aiming on the multicast event here, pass this back through to here on ROS aiming, call MC aiming, pass this back through here, and then on press of the right mouse button, we'll call ROS aiming, and we'll also call it upon released, so we can duplicate this one and we will check this here so that if we press the right mouse button, it's going to call these events and set aiming as true. And if you release it, it's going to call them and set it as false. Nice. Let's just go ahead and set up the animation for this, because this is all we need to do to pass through this variable, and we can use that variable in our animation blueprints to change the animation. So first we're going to need an animation, and what I might just do is edit the existing one. So I'm going to go into my BP medium build here, and I'm going to select first my first person mesh, and I'm going to browse to the anim class, MH first person NMBP over here, browse to this one and open this up. And here I'm already in my pistol anims. But if you want to get here, you just have to go to your anim graph and then into pistol anims here and base. So this is where we're going to do a blend poses by bool. But first we need our boolean from our first person character. So we need to go to our event graph, and I'm just going to grab this first person character reference and duplicate it over here, and then get aiming and promote this to a variable. Just plug it in here, and now we have access to our aiming variable. And go back over to my pistol anims right here, and I am going to find a blend poses by bool. And this one is going to plug into the false pose. And the active value is going to be our aiming boolean. So grab that, plug that into the active value. But now we need an animation for the true pose. So what I'm actually going to do is browse to this animation over here, browse to MH idle pistol. And I am going to duplicate this, and I'm going to call this one MH aim pistol. Now, obviously, you wouldn't want to do it this way in a clean, polished project. I'm basically just going to alter this animation so that you can see the difference between this one and the idle animation. So we'll see that it's blending the correct animation. It's basically a placeholder. So we've duplicated it, we've renamed it to aim pistol, and then I can pause it and then take it back to the first frame here. So make sure you're on frame 0. Select the skeleton tree, and I'm just going to start playing with this animation. I'm going to bring his hands up a little bit higher. I'm going to grab the right upper arm, and I'm going to switch this to world space, and I'm going to bring this up to about his eye line, and then level out the hand like so, and then grab the left upper arm, bring this up, and I'm not really worried about the position of the hands whatsoever. We just want to see that he's raising that pistol up, and he's raising it up to about eye level. But I may just want to make sure that pistol is nice and level, like so. Very good. So I can click in the skeleton tree over here, press Control A to select all, and then press key up the top here and keyframe everything. And now if we press play, we'll see we've basically got the same animation, but his hands are slightly higher. Nice. So we can save and close that. And now in here, I can find my MH aim pistol, drag it in, plug it into the true pose, and make sure that I check loop animation like so. Now I'm going to keep this animation blueprint open, and I am also going to open up my third person animation blueprint, so I can select the body and browse to tray ABP many, open up this animation blueprint, and again we got to go to the event graph and we need access to our aiming variable. So over here I can grab my character reference and get aiming, get aiming, promote this to a variable, add an execution pin, plug this in, and I'm going to collapse these nodes and just call this set aiming. And now I can go to my enum graph and find my pistol enums and base. And what I'm actually going to do is delete this one. And because we're using the same skeletal mesh for both of these animation blueprints, what I can do is just select these three. I'm not going to select the aiming because it might create a problem. It'll think it's a different variable. I'm just going to Control C these three nodes here and then Control V them in over on the other animation blueprint. Grab my aiming variable, plug it in here, hit compile and save on both of these. And now we should see our character aiming both in first person and in third person. Only for the pistol, mind you. So we're going to pick up the pistol, and if I right click, you see he's doing a different animation. His hands are coming up. And if I step over in front of this other fella over here, I can aim, and you can see he's aiming on both instances. And let's just check that this is also working on the server, which it absolutely should. Yep, no problem at all. So you can see these animations are obviously very, very janky. They don't look great, but the logic is there. And if you guys want to add your own animations to the project and make some really cool, really clean looking stuff, you just have to go check out my how to create your own first person animations in Unreal Engine 5.4. I'm pretty proud of that tutorial. You can watch that one tutorial and you will be able to do some pretty cool stuff and make your own animations. So let's just cap this session off by setting up a sort of different max walk speed when we aim. And as you probably remember in a previous session, we made this light build over here. We made her a lot faster than Trey. So what we want to do is make some logic that's kind of scalable, you know, so it will work across all of our different classes. So how we're going to do that is by creating a variable that's going to basically be the default walk speed of that class. So we can create a variable here, and I'm just going to call it max walk speed, and it's going to be a float. And what's very important here is that you click this little I right here. This makes this instance editable. So if we select this, you'll see over here that instance editable has been checked. And this means that this is changeable in different instances of this blueprint. So we can change this in the child classes to different values. And basically what we're going to do on our MC aiming down here is grab the character movement and set max walk speed. And I'm going to pass this max walk speed back through like so, and pass it back through here as well. And then we've got access to it over here. And by the way, this max walk speed has to be replicated. So select this max walk speed, change replication to replicated. And then here, when we release the right mouse button, we just want it to change back to our default max walk speed. So we can just plug that in there. And then what I'm going to do just to test this out is get my max walk speed up here. And I'm just going to divide it by 3. And that's what I'm going to pass through here. So you can see what I'm doing here. If my max walk speed is different on my light build as 900, for example, this will make my aiming walk speed 300. But if my max walk speed on my medium build is 600, this will make my walk speed 200 when I aim. So all we have to do now, that is all set up here, all we have to do now is actually, I'm going to change this max walk speed's default value to 600. And then that way I won't even have to change it inside of my medium build. So if I go into my medium build now and go to the class defaults, down here under default, you'll find this max walk speed that we created, and that is already 600, which if we click on the character movement component here and look at the max walk speed, is the max walk speed of our character. But if we, did want to set up a different build, such as our light build, we would have to go in here to the class defaults and make sure that the max walk speed here is 900. Otherwise, when we release the right mouse button, it's going to change it to back to 600, which is not the walk speed of this character. So that should be that. If I hit play, now you will notice that it will do this even without a weapon. If you don't want it to do it when you're unarmed, you can check if equipped weapon is valid. But you can see here that the max walk speed is changing, and we haven't got any of that weird rubber banding effect. It might kind of look like we do because I think that's just the video memory being exhausted, so it's being a bit funky. That may be rubber banding. I hope it isn't. I think I've done everything right. If we change the default pawn class to the light build and hit play, so we've got this much higher walk speed, and if we right click, we've got the lower walk speed, and then if we release it, we go back to the full 900 walk speed. So that's working correctly. I am almost certain that that sort of mild rubber banding effect that you're seeing is just because my GPU is totally out of memory. I don't think it's a problem with the code, but you know, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. Guys, that's it for today. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you on the next one.